Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm your host, FD for Sage5.tv. Now, most of us are still wondering what's going on with the crypto markets, what's happening with BTC, why have we not had the so promised altcoin season? Is it still coming? That is what we want to explore in this video. So if you're interested in any of the subjects we just highlighted, please keep watching along with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and others' dominance. We are going to be covering that in this video. But before I proceed, guys, please note that this is not financial advice. What I'm going to share with you in this video is just for entertainment as well as educational purposes. This content is also not targeting UK audiences for obvious reasons. Please do your own research. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just some dude trying to share with you my thoughts as far as crypto is concerned. So, the past 12 months, what have we seen? Well, we witnessed a complete reversal of crypto market dynamics. What began as an optimistic post-halving rally in early 2025, most of us watched that, transformed into a Bitcoin-dominated market, experiencing significant correction, with our beloved altcoin suffering disproportionate losses. There's no hiding away from that. Current market status at the time of recording, we are looking at Bitcoin having gone just over 70,000, around 70,300, and that is 16.7% down at the same time last year, February 2025, when Bitcoin was sitting at $84,000. And for Ethereum, it's currently sitting at $2,050. That's a 55% decline from February 2025. That's an estimate. Bitcoin dominance as of the time of recording, we are sitting at 58.9% compared to February 2025, when it was approximately 49%. Altcoin season index is sitting at approximately 24 to 30% or percentage points firmly in Bitcoin season. And the others dominance is sitting at an all-time low, multi-all-time low, I must add, 7.58%. Looking at the 12-month journey from rally, peak, and reversal, this is across 2025. Bitcoin in February was sitting at 49% dominance, and it was priced at $84,373. And it peaked in June, and the Bitcoin dominance peaked in June at approximately 65% during the rally. From August to October peak, Ethereum peaked at just under 5,000. It was sitting at $4,946 in August, and Bitcoin peaked at about $126,296 in October. So you can see there are some anomalies there already compared to previous cycles where Ethereum supposedly peaked before Bitcoin did. So Ethereum peaked in August and Bitcoin peaked in October. Come December 2025, Bitcoin was sitting at $88,000 and Bitcoin dominance was sitting at 59%. So during 2025, Bitcoin went up by 4.3%, but it was down 30% from the October peak. So from 126,000 to 88,000. It was down 30%, and Bitcoin had gone up by 4.3%. Bitcoin dominance, that is, or its performance. So the key metrics to look at during 2025 developments, you're looking at institutional transformation, where there was $23 billion in Bitcoin spot ETF inflows, building to $130 billion in assets. ETF capital became the dominant market force. Institutional flows rose from 30 to 50% of market move, and we know institutions do not dabble in altcoin. And as for the dominance dynamics, what started as 49% Bitcoin dominance peaked at 65% in June and ended the year at 59%. Dominance rose during both rally and correction, so that is quite critical to notice that Bitcoin dominance was rallying between both the rallies and the correction. It never broke below 50% throughout the entire year of 2025, and there was a net change of 10% as well in terms of dominance from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. We also experienced what some might call a false altcoin season. Despite Bitcoin all-time high, no broad altcoin season occurred. As I just pointed out earlier, Ethereum actually peaked before Bitcoin peaked at 126,000 in October. Ethereum peaked at just under 5,000 in August 2025. So that's probably a sign that things have changed. And the altcoin season index itself peaked at only 37 to 40%, and it needs to be 75% plus for a proper altcoin season. So it was way off by almost 50% from where it's supposed to be, or 100% from where it got to. It was supposed to double from there. 90% of altcoins remained below all-time highs, and some never left their bear market price level. And only a selective sector rotation, you're talking of AI, gaming, and DeFi. Even gaming didn't actually do anything. Some did, but briefly. So is the crypto market evolving? Well, options open interest exceeded futures since July. Stablecoins grew from $120 billion to $309 billion. That is an increase of over 158%. Altcoin count increased to 20,000 plus. Extreme fragmentation, which means value was being split across so many altcoins. So a lot of dilution going on. We also had the Genius Act passed over in the US, Bitcoin regulatory clarity solidified. We are still waiting for the market structure bill, which seemed to be causing a lot of problems between the banking sector and the crypto community. And as for this year, 2026, the capitulation phase of 2026, Bitcoin dropped from 88,000 to 60,000, or tested 60,000, approximately 32% down intraday decrease. Multiple liquidation events totaling 9 billion, 2.56 billion liquidated in a single day, which is the 10th largest ever. Bitcoin then recovered to between 74k to 78k by the end of January, and year-to-date performance, we're only talking of 2 months, January 1st to around Valentine time, the time of recording. Bitcoin in January was sitting at 88,000, and the current price at the time of recording was sitting at 70,320. That's a decrease of 20.1%. Ethereum from 3,500 to just over 2,000, sitting at $2,050. That's a decrease of 41.4% in just over a month. And the altcoins, they suffered decreases from 50% to 75%. And during this month of February, I think Bitcoin is testing critical resistance, and it's ranging from $68,000 to $75,000. And dominance is testing the 60% resistance, which is a crucial decision point for Bitcoin. Altcoin season is sitting at 24 to 30. There's no improvement there. And the market, I think, is in consolidation. Looking at the Bitcoin dominance during the past 12 months, from 49% in February 2025 to 65% in June 25, September 25, sitting at 57%, and in December, back to 59%. And now we're in February, sitting at 58.9%. And the net change there is Bitcoin has increased by just under 10%, sitting at 9.9% increase from December of 2025. And that is the equivalent of 20.2% relative increase. And Bitcoin here, as you can see, it increased by 10 percentage points, while Bitcoin price itself fell by 16.7% over 12 months. And what could have caused this? Well, altcoins fell harder. You're talking of 40% to 80% declines. That's the range. ETF capital locked in Bitcoin, you're talking of 130 billion, and that was unable to rotate. So if there were some traditional crypto players or investors who went into ETF, they were not intending to rotate into altcoins. So liquidity actually left altcoins. So in other words, if you're a firm believer in crypto and especially altcoins, you cannot believe in both altcoins and Bitcoin because those two are mutually exclusive. If that's the right term, you cannot believe in one and the other. You got to choose a side. I think that's what these numbers are telling us. And there was a flight to safety within crypto itself during volatility. So people who were in altcoins, they left the altcoin positions and they went into Bitcoin, and that money never came back. And people are not looking at rotating. That could also present some potential opportunity if you know what to go into, you know what to choose. So please do your own research and choose wisely. Not financial advice, of course. And the others dominance metrics, you're talking of Ethereum, its dominance in February 25 was between 15 and 16%. In 26, in February, 10.6%. Net change of 5 to 6% percentage points, and it's 33.2% relative decrease. So it was losing both Bitcoin and newer L1s like Solana, Avalanche, your Sui, your Hyperliquid, and many others. So Ethereum has been under pressure. And others dominance excluding top 10. In February 2025, the dominance was sitting at 10 to 11%. In 26 February, it's sitting at 7.58%. So that's a net change of 3 to 4 percentage points. A relative decrease of between 30 to 40%. A multi-year low testing critical 7% support. If it falls through the floor of 7%, it could be Armageddon for altcoin. But this is also crucial because Bitcoin is facing that top end 60%. If it fails to break that this time around, Bitcoin could collapse to below 50% dominant. That's also a realistic prospect from my own analysis, looking at historical trends and the data that's in front of us. In terms of the market structure transformation, what changed in 12 months? ETF dominance, where Bitcoin demand permanently separated from retail cycle. Derivatives evolution, options from 65 billion greater than futures at 60 billion, which gives us less leverage. More hedging, institutional share now driving 50% of Bitcoin moves versus 30% in February 2025. And also stablecoin growth from 120 billion to 309 billion market cap, an increase of 158%. And finally, you got the altcoin fragmentation, where I think now we're talking of millions of altcoins. They've all been competing for limited capital. That's why we are where we are. There's no more room for growth because there's no volume coming through. So let's look at the next 6 to 12 months. I'm going to present 3 scenarios here, guys. And scenario A is dominance breakout at 5% probability. And the setup looks like dominance breaks above 60% and continues to 60 to 65%. It triggers macro uncertainty, Fed hawkishness, tech weakness, and the outcome is that others fall below 6%, which is catastrophic for altcoins. If that happens, the prices you're looking at today could drop by another 80% or so if that happens. So you better hope hope that that does not happen. And the timeline there, we are looking at where we are today to June. If nothing like that happens by June, then it might not happen again. And to the contrary, things may actually change for the positive as well during that same period. Then if we move to scenario B, where we are looking at dominance rejection and rotation, 50% probability. So the probability of dominance rejection at 60% is actually higher than the probability of dominance breaking above 60%. So this scenario I'm going to paint here, guys, is actually most likely. And the setup will be as follows. Bitcoin dominance is rejected at 60%, doesn't stay there, it just drops below 60%, and that could lead to a gradual decline of 54 to 56%. It could happen, guys. 50% probability. That could trigger a Fed rate cut in Q2 and Q3. Bitcoin stabilizes between 70 to 85,000, improved liquidity, and the outcome there could be selective sector rotations, no broad altcoin, others recover to between 9 to 11%, and that could happen between where we are to September. So this is a good window. If you've got high hopes for altcoin and altcoin season, the window is opening now between March and September. That could be it. And the third scenario, which is scenario C, true altcoin season. This one has got the least probability to occur. True altcoin season, it's got like 15% probability of taking place. In a true altcoin season, we could see BTC reach a new all-time high of 140k. Dominance peaks at 60 to 62% and crashes down to 48 to 52%. And the Fed cuts 3 to 4 times. They cut interest rates. Global liquidity surge. Retail FOMO. Altcoin ETF approval. And this could lead to broad altcoin strength. Other surges to 13 to 15%. And the timeline is Q4 2026 and Q1 2027. Yeah. So the potential of an altcoin season actually happening 9 months away or 7 months away from where we are. Something like that. So the key takeaways as far as this analysis is concerned, guys, is when we're looking at the 12 months, past 12 months, BTC price is down 16.7%, but dominance is almost 10%. Year to date, Bitcoin is down 20.1%. Dominance is flat, and the structural shift is confirmed where ETF capital, 130 billion plus, created permanent Bitcoin bid. Traditional retail-driven cycles are disrupted, and altcoin season pattern fundamentally altered. And others' dominance at inflection point at 7.58%, testing multi-year support. Historical bottom here led to explosive recoveries, but market structure different now. ETF effect may slow recovery, but this could also be biggest opportunity to make some heavy gains within the market because we're testing multi-year lows in terms of others outside the top 10, others dominant. And the critical decision point here is at 60%. Bitcoin dominant. Above 60% is a disaster for alts. Rejected at 60%, beginning of rotation, which is the most likely because it's approximately 50% to happen. Breaking below 55%, potential altcoin season, the least likely scenario at 15% probability. So my final thoughts on the developments as far as Bitcoin dominance is concerned is as follows, guys. Bitcoin's price having fallen 16.7% while its dominance rose approximately 10% percentage point. It's a paradox explained by altcoins falling harder 40 to 85%, and Bitcoin ETF assets fundamentally changed market structure, creating institutional capital that cannot rotate into altcoin. Combined with poor liquidity and regulatory uncertainty, this kept Bitcoin dominance even during price weakness, while others collapsed to 7.58%, the lowest in years, validating the severe stress the altcoin market faces. So the most likely path is that Bitcoin dominance is rejected at 60%, gradual decline to 54 to 56%, selective altcoin recovery by Q3 of this year, but the key metric to watch is Bitcoin dominance at 60%. That is the decision point. If Bitcoin fails, you are looking at starting with selective altcoin season, but that could also lead to a full-blown altcoin season, but that is like 7 months away from here. If that is the case, when is the right time to start accumulating? I'm starting now, adding to my positions. I haven't sold anything yet, so I'll be adding to my positions in various portfolios, private and public. What are your thoughts? How are you dealing with this situation, guys? Let us know in the comment section. Until the next one, FD465.tv signing out for now. Bye.